Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the show. I am so excited you are here. I'm your host, Carrie Roldan. I'm a wife, a mother, a runner, a best-selling author, a personal growth junkie, and your total business BFF. And for more information about me, you can head on over to carrieroldan.com. But today, I am super excited to be interviewing Kelly Collins. So I'm going to read you a little official bio about Kelly in just a moment. But I just want to start off by saying what a delight it is to have gotten to know Kelly over the past few months, because I've been watching her since she was a little girl, literally. I used to coach at a rival high school when she was in high school, and I've just watched Kelly grow up as an athlete. And then later on, Kelly was an athlete at a university that I coached at for a bit. And so I've been in the periphery of Kelly Collins's life for a while. And it's been so cool to finally get to actually know her over the past few months. So let me read you a little bit about Kelly so that we can hop into our conversation. So Kelly Collins is half of the dynamic sister duo that runs SISSFiT, a virtual training brand that is quickly becoming the go-to place for busy women who want to burn fat, improve speed, and build lean muscle. As former Division I track athletes and sports models, Kelly and her sister Lauren are uniquely qualified to help women to look and train like athletes. And they're on a mission to help us feel strong, healthy, and confident in the skin they are in. And Kelly, I'm super excited to have you on the show here today. So say hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. And that was quite the flattering intro. Thank you for that.
Well, you're welcome. And it's true. So I think I'll start. My first question is generally, tell me how you came to be in this stage of business. But I feel like it's important to give our viewers and listeners just a quick background about what SISSFiT is and who you and Lauren are. So do you want to give us that first?
Sure. So my sister Lauren, she was on a few weeks ago. She is 3 years older than I am. So we actually, in high school and both in college, we ran together on the same track team. So we've always been, kind of in the same world, been really active, always been really close. And then about 2 years ago, we decided to start SISSFiT. So that was after Lauren had gone through a fitness modeling career. And then I went through a corporate career. So we kind of joined forces right about 2 years ago. It was great timing. And we launched our online fitness company. So in a nutshell, that's how it all started.
So tell me a little bit more about, the topic that I want to speak with you at length today about is the idea of the comparison trap. So when you and I spoke a few months ago, you mentioned this topic, and it just really hit home for me because I've lived just being female, we compare ourselves a lot to other people. But in terms of starting your fitness company, how did you go from, so I know you said you had a corporate career, but I've seen enough of your fitness modeling stuff out there on the interwebs to know that you did that too. So how did you go from, or can you give me a little bit more of your journey from like you graduated college and then what?
Of course. So I graduated college, I guess it's about 6 years ago now. And then going into the corporate world, I planned to follow Lauren's track. That was what I had always done. And she was fitness modeling at the time. And so that's what I began to do. But I just didn't feel completely fulfilled. Full transparency, I probably wasn't nearly as successful as she was and felt like frustrated, like there was something, else I should be doing. And so I went right into a really aggressive sales job. So a lot of athletes, I'm sure, can relate and go straight into sales because that's where we're supposed to be with that personality. So it was a company called Cintas. And so I traveled 65 miles just into the office. My territory was way down in San Diego. So it was really, really long hours. I was determined to be successful, and I just felt like, is this all there is to it? I could barely fit in workouts. By the time it was like a 14-hour day, I felt like I just went to bed, turned around and did it again. And then I was still fitness modeling a little bit since high school. So if something came up, I would try to, work remotely that day and figure it out. But in a nutshell, I was so stressed all the time. And so when I left that career, I actually went to a a sales career with ASICS. And so if anyone, is familiar with ASICS, it's running shoes, running apparel. So being runners, Carrie and I are both fans. So starting there, I just felt, okay, this is something I'm way more passionate about. I still have the flexibility. I can do a little bit of the modeling. And then I also got my personal training certification. So I started working, it's called Barry's Bootcamp. I actually was up at 4 a.m. teaching classes this morning there. But I was doing that in the mornings and on the weekends. And then I was working, traveling all over the country with my sales career and then still trying to manage a bit of fitness modeling in between. So it was kind of a total balancing act, but when it's what you're passionate about, it was much better than where I started in my career.
Don't you think, I find a lot of former student athletes do that after college? We overextend ourselves because we are so used to having to be a high performer in several, like many of us, right? As former NCAA Division I athletes, right? We had to hold a job while we were full-time students and high-level athletes. And so it's super natural when you get out of that highly competitive world of, for us, it was track and field. You went straight into highly competitive sales, but also kept your life completely full with all that other stuff.
Always. It's so funny. Yeah. It's just, I feel like such an expectation we put on ourselves. And then a lot of times I feel like we wake up and decide, actually, this is not what we're super passionate about, but I'm so determined to do well. And then you end up in a little bit of a tug of war.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I am determined to not, I don't know how successful I'm going to be, but so far to not let my children fall into that trap of achieving for achievement's sake. Like I found, like you, right, there was that world of track and field where I was achieving because I was passionate about it.
Exactly.
But there were lots of other areas in my life where I was achieving just because I was an achiever. So, and I feel like this is going to lead into the conversation of how SISSFiT was born. So you were working at Barry's, you had left. Oh, by the way, shout out to ASICS, because Kelly and I were just talking before the show that I've been wearing a pair of running tights that are still in great shape, that are ASICS that I've had for almost 20 years now. So, amazing. But you left one sales career to move into one that felt better, right? Like ASICS was more around your passion. It seems like you were probably surrounded by more of your people.
100%. Yep.
And you were at Barry's Bootcamp and you had become a certified personal trainer, because I'm guessing, tell me if I'm wrong here, that that hard driving sales career left sort of that workout void in your life where you wanted to get back to.
Yeah.
I've been there. I've been there. Not the hard driving sales career, but like, it wasn't just that I loved competing in track and field, it's that I need this.
Right. Actually, yeah, you love fitness. I know. I'm like, I just got to keep my pinky in somewhere so that I get that itch.
Yeah. And so how did SISSFiT come out of that? And have you left your corporate career?
Yes. So I actually left almost exactly 2 years ago. So it came up, I would say, pretty quickly. Lauren and I had been talking, we want to do something. So I have notes from the beginning of 2016, all of my goal setting, and it was totally hypothetical. I was traveling every single week to the East Coast, so I had plenty of time to think on planes. And I had written out, like, we want to start a company. We want to, all the XYZ, but no clue how we would ever achieve it, what the timing would be. I was really content in my career and building that, and Lauren was really content in her career. So it just didn't necessarily, even 5 months before we went, ran with it, we had no idea that was going to happen. And then at ASICS, we actually had a change up in leadership, and it changed a bit of the dynamic of the sales team. And for me personally, I felt like I was in a very complacent situation, and being at the time 25, I'm like, I can't just collect a paycheck. Like, my mind's always running. And so I knew I wanted to do more, and I'm much more impulsive than Lauren. And she was kind of at that point where she had such a successful modeling career, but she was like, I don't know that I want to do this all the time. She wanted to start a family. She was ready to slow it down a bit. She wanted to look at, what's next, because you just don't know. There's no, definitive role for models. You don't know when it's going to slow down or pick back up. And so at the time, I was one like, all right, I can always go back. I haven't burnt any bridges. If I need to change, companies, like, I can still stay in this industry, but now it's kind of the time. I have a house savings. Like, let's go for it. Like, if you're ready to go for it, I'll kind of spearhead it. We'll get some help and we'll move. And so I left my career because we started to do stuff after work, and it just felt like, yeah, we can move bits and pieces, but if we want to take leaps and bounds, I felt like it needed my full attention. And fortunately, I still had modeling and training. So it wasn't like I was saying, okay, I'm going to zero income and starting it at the ground up. But that being said, it was not, you picture like this clear, perfect path, and it's just like this roller coaster that you just never intended to get on. But yeah, that's how it started. So the inspiration behind it was Lauren was traveling all of the time, and she was going even international. We had that like Find My Friends app, if you've ever seen that, to where you can see on like a map, I'd be like, is she in, Puerto Rico, or is she in like, wherever? And same with me. We always hoped we would like high five in an airport, but we were constantly giving each other workouts. So that was how we kind of held each other accountable, because a lot of the times the hotels have not even a gym. They don't have equipment. Maybe they have old like janky treadmill, usually not even free weights. And so we constantly had to pull that, like, because if I'm getting up at 5 a.m. East Coast time, it's 2 a.m. when I look at my Fitbit, I'm like, I got to make this count. Otherwise, I'd rather sleep. So we made really, really concise workouts, still high intensity, bringing our sprinter background into it, but pretty much giving ourselves no excuse not to get a good workout in and to feel motivated. And so that was our thing. We always had those travel tips back and forth of like, okay, right when you get in, don't sit on your bed, get a quick sweat, even if it's in your hotel room. Like, we kind of had these rules that we held each other accountable. And it was really helpful having someone else, being on the same page as you. And so we thought, okay, if we're doing this and staying, feeling great about ourselves and having such limited time, I'm sure moms feel this way. I'm sure other businesswomen feel this way. And so that was the inspiration behind starting SISSFiT, was we just wanted to share that knowledge of, it doesn't take 2 hours in a gym. You don't have to eat perfectly. You can go out to client dinners. You can, make smart choices and still, I guess, have it all to an extent.
I love that. Lauren told me this story, but it didn't hit me the way that you're saying it, that SISSFiT really came out of you guys being each other's accountability buddy.
Totally.
That, like that, she sort of said, well, we had these great workouts, but I just really got that this, and I believe that every amazing company, every incredible brand that spreads across the globe, it didn't start from, I bet we could make money at this, right? It started somewhere else. And so I love that it started with, I'm going to help you and you're going to help me. And from that, you're like, I bet we could help other people. And I think it's so important to tell that part of your story, because this is my masterful transition into the comparison, is because from the outside looking in, when I saw SISSFiT being born, so I must have followed you and Lauren, or one or the other of you, on social media, and saw that you guys were promoting it. And I got really excited about it, because I had this little community called Women Entrepreneurs Who Run, or used to, or wish they did, that is really just for people like me, like, other women entrepreneurs who have this running thing, or this, I say they used to or wish they did, because many of my audience is a lot older than me and say they can't run anymore, but they consider themselves athletes, right?
Totally.
So I just love, anyways, what I'm getting at with the comparison is that from the outside looking in, it would be easy to say, oh, look at these two fitness models who decided to capitalize, right? Who decided to make a brand. But it's so important to recognize that that's not where it came from. Like, it came from you guys helping.
And it was not that easy.
Yeah. So when I spoke with you and Lauren, I don't know, a few months ago, I was asking you guys about, your entrepreneurial journey. And I was letting you know from outside looking in all of the things that you guys are doing right. And you said, oh my gosh, it's been this crazy roller coaster. And, from the outside looking in, you guys have this beautiful brand. You're really utilizing social media well. And you said it was really hard. And it was really hard not to get down on ourselves and not to be comparing ourselves. So I'm wondering, just if you want to pick up that conversation about what it means to, or how you are doing it. What are you doing to make sure that you and Lauren you particularly aren't falling into that comparison trap that not just entrepreneurs fall into, but people your age, right? You're not even yet 30. So that people your age are falling into, where we're looking around going, why aren't I as successful as so-and-so? Or maybe I should be doing what that, brand X over there is doing. What are you doing to ensure that you're not falling into that trap?
Oh gosh, that's a good one because I mean, honestly, I would say right about a year ago, this time was when personally for me, it was probably the hardest time because Lauren had just gotten pregnant and her life, was still moving. And I felt like mine was kind of moving in accordance with hers at a slower rate per se for being young and single and wanting to get after it. And so I struggled with that a lot. And I remember there were days where I would just burst out crying. And I'm not a crier at all. And I would just be crying. And I just felt so just defeated because I'm like, I was on this trajectory. I felt like I had really made it in my last career at such a young age. I had saved for a house. I had done, all these things. Again, box checking, because that's how we know how to do and go all the way up the ladder. And then I just felt like I took a big step back. But a topic that, was brought up recently, I forget with a friend, was about how, especially being an athlete, you just assume that you'll step into your next thing and have it all put together and be the top of your game. And that's not the case. I mean, sometimes it's the case, and so I think when we moved into starting our company, we thought, well, yeah, we both had successful, athletic and academic careers. We both had successful, corporate, and Lauren had her modeling career. So this should be easy. And it was far from easy. And it's just really humbling because it doesn't matter if you have it, maybe more together. You were ahead of someone. Like when you're stuck in the entrepreneurial role, it's who can get out there and who can get it done and not always second guess, not be a perfectionist and just move forward. So for us, we had a really paralyzing experience to where we were always looking, okay, well, if this person's doing this, we feel like we have better workouts or we have better whatever. And it doesn't matter. They could have the worst workout and they're able to get out there and roll their sleeves up and get it done. And so I would say probably, right about a year ago is when we decided to launch our treadmill guide. We went much more into that niche market of high intensity interval training because out of the gates, we wanted to fit everyone's needs. We wanted to make easy enough workouts, hard enough workouts, to just everything. And you just can't. And so once we accepted this is what we enjoy, every single day of the week, we had to, train someone on the high intensity cardio, even if it's scary for people, then they're not our market. So I think finally being able to say, well, you're not necessarily we can send you elsewhere, or maybe you're not our audience, and just being able to really own what you have to offer, that definitely I think was a big breakthrough. And then for me personally, it was just being able to let everything else go. This is the new reality. It's not what I could have done or where I was a year ago or where I would have been now if I stayed in that doesn't matter. So I think just being able to wipe all of that and have a clean slate and start and feel look at the positives of what I do accomplish and what I can do rather than what I should have and what I fell short of. That mindset, kind of the glass half full, really has helped me.
So I love so much of what you just said, and especially that last little piece of should, right? I think should,
constant.
We are all shoulding on ourselves all the time. And yet, so I have this practice that I walk people through about setting goals differently, right? So as athletes, we were sort of taught to maybe they called them SMART goals but a goal had to be something that was
specific, measurable.
Yes, all of those things. And it's not that the way I teach people to set goals now that they probably will end up being very specific and measurable. But the first thing I have them do is write down their should list, the list of all the things that they think they should do, so that we can look at those and go, that word should, right? It almost never comes from us. It's usually some sort of external expectation that we think, it's our mom's voice or it's our coach's voice or it's somebody else's voice in our head. And so once we can flip that to, if I really wanted to, I could, right? Everything changes. And so I love that you said, I just had to let go of what I thought I should do.
Well, it's hard because you hear, to your point, it's I hear my mom's voice and I hear my parents' voice of being very just old school in terms if you have a career and you stay in it until you buy a house, you get married, and then you keep going on. And then I have my, sister who has a whole different trajectory, and she's, my business partner. And you hear all these different things. So you start to get confused of why do I feel like I should do this, but I don't necessarily want to, or I don't think this is my highest priority, but it's still in the back of my mind. So once you can differentiate those, to your point, you have so much more clarity and I think confidence in what you're doing. And a lot of the things can fall by the wayside.
So I want to make sure I talk about, your Accelerate guide. So I'm actually, if you are watching on YouTube or on Facebook Live right now, I have the link up on the screen. If you go to SISSFiT.com, you can, I think then you click on, there's something at the top, maybe Kelly, you click on, shop. There you go. You click on shop and you'll be able to find the Accelerate guide that Lauren talked about last time she was on, and Kelly mentioned now, where when you guys really found your groove, when you stopped trying to be and just, like an one size fits all fitness stop, and really started to follow where your experience is, but more than your experience, right? Where your heart is, where your body wants to go, that you guys found your groove and found that you were helping people on a completely different level. So it's not that everything your other guides weren't helping people, right? I just did your Tuesday toning workout, which is just free on Instagram, right? Like those things are still helping people, but you really found where, and I could feel it just hearing you speak about it, you felt settled, right? You felt like, I'm not looking around anymore trying to be what this company is doing or what those people are doing, but like not many people are doing this, and yet it feels right.
Totally. Yep.
Yeah. So I don't even know what my question is, but can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So our Accelerate guide is a treadmill interval program, which sounds horrible, especially the track athletes to carry, it's like getting on a treadmill. You're like, no, if I can run outside, I will any day of the week. But again, being in hotel rooms and traveling all the time, when that's your option or weather permitting, we made it work. And so they're all about 30 minutes in length. So they're treadmill intervals, and it goes off of your speed, which is the best part. So if we have an elite runner, they're going to be starting potentially, 4 miles an hour faster than our beginner, and their whole workout's going to go off of that. So it's perfect. It's really personalized. It changes all the time. Like I'm super ADD being a sprinter. I'm used to that intense and stop, intense and stop. And so you're constantly changing your speeds and your inclines, which I think is really fun. Like I had someone today that had done the workouts. She was in my Barry's class, but she was doing our workouts on vacation. And she was like, I didn't realize that like I could go this speed. I thought I maxed out here. I didn't even realize the treadmill goes to, 11 miles per hour. And I just pushed myself there. So I think that's what's so fun for us, is because you're sort of tricking people. So they're intervals, they all make sense, but you're constantly changing up that speed. So you're burning a lot of calories, you're building lean muscle. But mentally, for a lot of people, it's just one, if your goal is just get through the workout, you hate cardio, it's very entertaining, I would say. And if you're even a distance runner, more like you, Carrie, it gets your legs moving and it gets you pushing yourself to, probably a lot higher than what you would settle in and be comfortable with. But again, it's a short period of time, so you're not constantly, feeling like you're dreading it, because you know that you get to come back down to an easier jog pace or a walk. And so that's been really fun for us, because we've seen, 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathoners dropping a lot of time because they're working that turnover. So we get to reach and men, a lot of men do the workouts too. It's not just women, but it's fun reaching a much larger demographic in different ways. And it serves, the purpose of your weight loss and your cardio, or maybe you just need to fit your cardio in before weights, or maybe you need, more foot speed. It's just fun seeing the different avenues that it can help people.
Well, and what I love about what you guys are offering, and what I know, having been someone who was an athlete and then had to find my way back to just loving running again, right? Plug myself, wrote a book called Run Yourself Happy, which is about that journey, right? About finding a love of running beyond just getting the workouts in, right? Beyond what, having been an athlete, you're coached by somebody else. You show up every day and somebody else tells you what to do. And there is, there's a whole mental game behind being an athlete, but there's also a mindless component of just trusting the workouts, showing up and getting them done. Totally. And that's where I like about where, on my journey, where you and Lauren are fitting right back in, is that I found that love of running again. Like I found this, okay, I just need to get outside and do a run. I need, this needs to be part of my day. But what has been missing for me for a long time, and what I told Lauren that I was excited about, was that component that you're talking about, just showing up, having someone else tell me what to do, and being able, because I'm just doing what I'm told, surprising myself with how far I'm able to push myself. I think when you try and do it on your own, you underestimate yourself, right? But when you just plug Kelly and Lauren into your ears and you get on that treadmill, it's just pushing the buttons and doing what you're told. Yeah, and there's a badassery that comes with that, right? With when you're done feeling like, holy crap, I just finished that. And that's a powerful place to be. So I want to go back to this idea of comparisons, and then these conversations always go so fast. We're going to have to wrap up. before, well, I want to talk about actually, I follow you guys on social media. So at the
Mm-hmm.
time of recording, Kelly posted something on Instagram maybe 2 or 3 days ago. And it was a picture of herself in college
Mm-hmm.
and in a bikini, I think. And then it was a picture of herself now. And you wrote a post about that idea of comparison, right? And you
Mm-hmm.
actually look leaner and more fit now than you did as a competitive college athlete. And you were talking about basically how insecure you felt as
Mm-hmm.
a college athlete and how good you feel in your skin now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if you can talk about, you talked about, letting go of the shoulds and like really getting comfortable, but I'm wondering if you could just talk about that journey from looking at other people's plates and all of that stuff to getting where you are now, where I follow you guys. If you don't follow SISSFiT on Instagram, follow SISSFiT on Instagram. But where you're posting real stuff, you're posting pictures of, glasses of wine and your occasional donut and also your workouts. And Lauren's posting real stuff about her postpartum body. And
Mm-hmm.
can you talk about getting comfortable there and letting go of that comparison stuff?
Of course, yeah. So I think especially as young athletes, I mean, I just see it so much, but we have so much pressure put on us. And especially when you're trying to attain all of the marks in your sport, you physically feel that pull too. And I think for me, like Lauren and I always had a nutritionist that was really unreasonable in terms of like what was good for an athlete. So it was very low fats, like high protein, a lot of veggies, which that's great. And those things are healthy, but psychologically it wasn't, I don't think, great for either of us. And so we felt like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to eat another meal in my life. And I'm feeling so guilty when I do have something bad. And oh my gosh, it's going to make me gain 20 pounds. And it was just this constant ping pong and a battle that I feel like we both kind of fought. But Lauren was always, at just a different level in terms of her fitness, and she was fitness modeling. So I felt like for me, I would look at like one day what she ate. And if I ate that and didn't wake up and look like her the next day, I was like, well, I'm just different. I'm just, you know what I mean? You're always just in your head, or you think like, I really want a burger today and that would probably serve my body better, but I'm looking and seeing someone eating, a salad next to me. So I guess that's what I should have. And then you go have that and your dessert after, and you know what I mean? It just doesn't flow with your body. So now I'm really a big fan of intuitive eating. And that's something that I started to learn as I progressed through college. And so by about my senior year, it's when I had, the most energy. We had a different nutritionist. It was didn't give us any sort of, he was strictly a sports nutritionist. It wasn't measured out at all, but it was like, here are all the whole foods that you should have. You are an athlete. You're, you know what I mean? Getting out there on the track, like injury prevention, everything, you need to fuel your body. And so that's where we kind of changed that direction of our eating in general. And then going from there, I just learned to not be afraid of food at all. And it's so seeing so many women now have this, they want to be told all these boundaries. And I'm like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you them because I don't believe in them. And I think that one day you might have, half the amount that you'll have the next day. And that depends on the sleep and the workouts you've done and how you're feeling, what you're craving. Like, it's just so different every day. And it's so different from, you to me, Carrie. It's like, we might have completely different things that work for us and that we enjoy. So that was a really big transition for me, was finally being like, it's fine. Like, I can have a burger and I can have wine. And that doesn't mean I need to go have ice cream afterwards, but I don't have to feel bad about it. And as soon as I could accept of listening to my body, and if my body's telling me I want something saltier, I want something high fat, or I want carbs, or I want protein, like, it's probably telling me that for a reason. I was able to just get out of that mindset of like, this is the guideline of like everything that I should have each meal. So it's funny how people get super structured on meal plans. I'm like, I'm like, oh, earmuffs. Like, I don't want to be on that because I think it's just such a detrimental mindset. So it's hard. I always try to think of the best advice to give, but I feel like a lot of times, like for me, like that should have, how we talked about that before, that was the biggest thing. I would sit here and be like, what do I want to eat? Okay, I kind of want mac and cheese, but I should do, the salad, or I should do whatever. And then when I could actually just stop and have what I wanted and stop when I wasn't hungry anymore, and then not beat myself. It's really hard to get out of that negative thought process. But that was kind of where I had that breakthrough. So a lot of times now it kind of kills me. And I think I talked about it in the post, as women will see if we put wine or we put chocolate or whatever on our feed and be like, either be one, it's genetics, which I'm like, okay, well, if you look at the picture before, I don't think I was ever heavy, but if you look at the picture before, you can see that was when I was eating chicken and broccoli and obsessing, and I look different than I do now eating donuts and not that I'm saying I'm eating it all the time, but you get what I'm saying.
Right.
But a lot of people have this misperception of like what everyone else is doing or what you can do or what you can't do. And I just think that we put the limitations on ourselves. And the more we obsess about it, the more our bodies don't, do what we want them to do. So I don't know if that answered your question.
No, it totally does. So I wrote about this in Run Yourself Happy, this idea of turning, and I'm hearing you say the same thing with intuitive eating. It's this idea that for the longest time, or for a lot of people, their workout or their strict diet is actually self-punishment, right? It's like, I need to work out hard. I need to really kick my own ass today because I didn't eat well yesterday, or I need to be super restrictive. Like this idea that somehow we're going to punish ourselves into what we want.
Yep. And then you don't feel happy anyways.
Yeah. And it doesn't work. One, it doesn't work, right? You can't punish yourself into feeling good.
Totally. Yep.
You can't make yourself feel bad enough that you feel good. That's not how it works.
No, that's such a good point. And I think one thing that flipped in my head was when we had gone to the nutritionist that was all about just, whole foods. And he said, food's meant to be enjoyed. That doesn't mean that you can't look the way that you want to, like prepare it the way that you want, use the full fats, do all these things. And I was like, what? Like, I thought that I had to have the most bland, you know what I mean, to get where I want to be. And it's just, it just makes me sad to see so many people just want that restriction and, want those limits on themselves. And I'm like, really, if you just trust yourself and listen to your body, like you're the best judge, not someone's, super strict plan, unless you're doing it for something very specific. Then of course I understand there's, certain scenarios, but as a whole, it's like, just listen to yourself, the best, and just be proud of your decisions.
And like you just said, unless there's something very specific, right? Sure, if you're training for a bikini competition, you're going to be very restrictive right before, but your life is not a bikini competition.
Exactly. Yes. Just going on vacation and things like that. I'm like, have the drinks, you don't need to, don't go, just be within reason. You don't need to just fly off the wagon like crazy, but I mean, have the things that you want and cut it off when you feel satisfied. And it just is so funny because it's so simple. But I've been on the opposite side of it where I could not understand the mindset that I'm describing right now. So it's definitely a transition.
It is. And that's why you and Lauren are such a good follow. So again, if you don't follow SISSFiT on Instagram or any of the social media platforms, follow them. If you haven't gone to SISSFiT.com and checked out, you do have a nutrition guide on there. They have several different programs. But right now, you guys, if any of this has resonated, go check out their Accelerate program, because what I learned, right, I'm always pushing people to run outside. And what I've learned is for most people, that's not going to be something that happens on a daily basis, right? Most people are getting their butts to the gym, or like you said, they're at a hotel, or they're in weather where they need to have a treadmill in their garage, right? We are spoiled. Yes. So you guys, you will love Lauren and Kelly. You will love Accelerate. But what I think that you guys are doing, that, I mean, just as someone who's over 40, I can say that I'm really proud of you for doing, is you're giving people permission to trust their own bodies. And that's a really valuable thing, because just like you said, you would try and eat like Lauren did for one day and then wake up and beating yourself up, which, by the way, we didn't even go there today about the whole comparison thing of being the little sister and what that must be about. But I liked what I heard you say early in the conversation, where you said, you were willing to take up the reins and with SISSFiT, and you were willing to be the one to really move it. And I feel like that was probably a pivotal moment in your life, right? Where you stopped being the little sister and said, hey, I want to do this. I want to do it with you. And I'll be the driving force behind it. Yeah. But that was a moment of trusting yourself, right? And what you guys are helping people do is trust your body, and it will surprise you.
I think, just trusting your overall judgment is so empowering. And then even when you start to hear all of the advertising or what someone's saying, you're able to just block it out, because you know what's best for you. And I think that just is such a confidence driver for any woman.
And I will go so far as to say that having a daily physical practice, so whether it's, you're doing YouTube yoga, or you're going outside and running, or you're doing Lauren and Kelly's Accelerate every day, or you're a competitive bodybuilder, it doesn't matter. But having a daily physical practice helps ground you in a way that you, for some reason, well, I believe that I know the reason, but you're able to trust yourself more.
Mm-hmm.
Your other decisions make more sense because you've
Mm-hmm.
spent that time tending to yourself, tending to your physical body,
I
which
totally
is super
agree.
powerful. So, for any entrepreneurs who are watching or listening, if you don't yet have a practice or you're ready to spice yours up, because Accelerate will spice up your practice. And and I love that name, Accelerate, because when you do stuff like this, when you challenge yourself in such a way that Lauren and Kelly are going to challenge you, it does accelerate. It's going to accelerate your results, your physical results, just from a sports um, physiology standpoint, right? You're gonna be activating some stuff that is going to help you get leaner faster.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that, when you accelerate one area of your life, how you do
Yeah.
anything is how you do
Bills.
everything. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to spill over into every area of your life. It's going to change the way you're eating, even if you're not trying to change the way you're eating. It's going to change the way you show up in your business, even if that wasn't your intention to change the way you show up in your business. So
Mm-hmm.
I highly encourage everybody watching and listening to go to SISSFiT.com and check out their Accelerate program. Uh,
Thanks, Carrie.
you're welcome. So, Kelly, closing words, if you could, right? Because I have a feeling that there's somebody watching or listening who is like you.
Mm-hmm.
They're a newer entrepreneur. Maybe they've been following you. I actually know a whole other company of new entrepreneurs who's been following SISSFiT and being like, well, they're doing this. Maybe we should do this. So,
Oh,
one, right, it's pretty cool to know
that's
that.
awesome.
Yes. But two, just like the one thing that you wish you would have told yourself, someone would have told you 2 years ago when you started this journey.
Well, I kind of feel like I was told it 2 years ago when I started this journey, but just don't overthink and do, because you'll turn back and you'll make improvements. You will, but you can waste so much time thinking about how to make things perfect. It's never going to be perfect. It's still not perfect 2 years later. It probably won't be in 4 years, but just execute. Learning to execute was everything for us, because once you can do that, you can move on to the next thing, to the next thing. You can think about things all day long and that doesn't make them happen. So just don't overthink, execute.
Love it. And the thing about not overthinking is, right, then there is no, people get stuck in paralysis by analysis, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
they're like wondering, and just keep moving forward.
Yep. It doesn't have to be perfect. No one's judging you. We're all in the same boat.
Yeah. Or if they are judging you, who cares?
That's where you learn to worry about yourself.
Kelly Collins, it has been such a joy to talk to you. I told
Likewise.
this to Lauren, but I'm going to tell it to you just because I'm like the old lady watching you guys
You are
come into
not.
your, the older person watching you guys come into your own. Just know I think all of us need to know this on our entrepreneurial journey. When you make yourselves visible, it can be scary. But for every critic, right? For every like little comment that you're worried about, there are the silent majority, which I'm raising my hand, who is inspired by what you do and cheering you on.
Oh,
And
thank
yeah,
you.
you're
So
welcome. So guys, follow SISSFiT. Go to SISSFiT.com, get your butt on the treadmill, and let Lauren and Kelly inspire you to reach the next level, because you will. And on that note, I think we'll wrap it up. So Kelly Collins, thank you so much for being here, and we'll see everybody else on the next episode.
Absolutely. Thanks, Carrie.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.